So, I thought Akame got killed couldn't get worse than episode 6. And I was wrong. I was wrong by a long shot because this was worse than the first episode or two of Terraform Mars. The only thing that separates it is the censors. And I can back up that statement with a bunch of facts. But, you know something's wrong when there are various comments from people that are manga readers telling you that they've skipped 10 chapters? 10 chapters? This doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'm reading this comment, and I'll have it up on screen. And this is from a comment on Chibi's video, his review of Akame ga Kill. So his first point, 4 major fights were skipped. Okay. 2, important character deaths occurred. Like who? 3, huge character development. Well, that's saying something because Lubok died as if he just was a fucking rock, just got thrown into a fucking river. It's like nobody gives a shit. And then you got the massive, okay, it says massive villain build-up. There's more brutal, there's ball crushing on berserk level, there's reasons to hate the villain. Whereas these villains were really fucking one-dimensional in this episode. We'll get into that later. There's an altered version of the assassination of Boric, and it's explained how Night Raid escaped as death. That would have helped. An entire impact full of dark action-packed, highly anticipated arc, and half were skipped? Jesus Christ. And then, the other thing, this is the biggest thing, the fact that this is pretty much almost a confirmed anime original at this point. Because the anime comes out weekly, the manga comes out monthly, and the manga is only on chapter 53. The anime's caught up to chapter 52 now. They skipped 10 chapters, and now you know where we are. That's awful. Don't defend it. You can't defend this show. I haven't done a rant on this show since, like, episode, 12 or something, because I was just like, I'm sick of calling this show garbage, and then people hating me for it, because, nobody's listening to reasoning. It's not the hate that I was really pissed about, it was the fact that nobody listens. But now, we got even manga readers telling you, hey, this episode was trash, just like most of the series. So that's a good thing. And then the other thing, oh my god, let's just go straight into the notes, because I can just go straight down this list, and then I'd still have 40 different topics to talk about. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first off, where the fuck are we? Where did we get here? How did we get here? Who the fuck are these people? When was this meeting scheduled? We're just thrown into a room as if we're supposed to know what's going on. And that's awful, because that's no different from when we were watching the first episode of Terraform Mars and Akira's in a boxing match with a bear, and we're just kind of like, what are we doing here? What's the point of this? The second note that I had was saying that they'd skipped 20 chapters, but that was from what I had heard from other people. Some people were like, they skipped 20 chapters, then manga readers were saying they only skipped 10. I'm gonna take the 10 in this case, because I think 20 would just be absolutely ridiculous. There's no way they would skip that much. White Fox knows better than that, although they don't know better than to just not acquire shitty writing, but I digress. So, another thing is that when Mine and Leone were underground, and they were just kind of walking through the sewer, when the hell was this plan established? I don't remember there being anything last episode that involved them saying they were going to go underground, raid wherever the fuck from the ground up, and etc. I don't also remember why Tatsumi and Lubok were in the village. They were just kind of there just to be there. And then, oh my gosh, there are just so many unexplained questions, just like, why is everybody here? What are these plans? What are we doing? There was a part where they mentioned, the Resistance. I was like, who the fuck is the Resistance? Then, going back, we have the stereotypical I'm evil because I want to be evil villain. And there's no way you can defend this, because you have I don't even remember his name. Whatever the fuck. The guy that created the Danger Beast. You have him, and he's just this guy that's no different, in my opinion, than just fucking Ryunosuke from Fate Zero. He's crazy. There's not a reason for him to be crazy other than the fact that he has to be crazy. He's crazy, and that's the only thing that's to his personality. It's like, you have the biggest villain probably at this point in the show, the reason for half of an arc, and then he dies in less than an episode. What? What's the point? What was the point of just like having all of this hype surrounding him or having any build up towards him whatsoever? Actually, there was no build up in this episode at all. There's no build up in this series. It's just a constant mash and mesh of just people getting thrown together in a fight and someone dies within the next 5 minutes. There's no build up to anything. It's just constant death and gore. There's nothing good in this series. But I'm going on. Let's not get too out of hand. We'll save that for the rant at the end of the series. You know, when I do that 40-hour-long review, because I'm gonna have to split that shit up. It's gonna be so long. So other than the stereotypical one-dimensional villain, I'm evil because I want to be evil, you have Budo, who is pretty much you should remember, it was the Wolverine type guy with the fucking cat ears and shit. The thing that we were supposed to be afraid of, but we weren't because he looked absolutely terribly lame. In what case whatsoever would I be afraid of that fucker? Why? Because he's tall? Because he's 7 foot tall? My uncle's 7 foot tall. I'm scared of him because he's black. No, I'm joking. But no, the whole point about this is that there's no reason for us to be scared of this enemy just because he's fucking tall. If anything, anime's taught us not to be scared of people that look big or buff and tall. You always root for the small guy. So why would I care? What's the point in me feeling somewhat intimidated because the guy is like 8 foot tall? There is no point. The fact that he's like more buff than fucking Mr. Braun in Steins Gate, I don't care. There's no point to it because and other than that, it's just his design was so lame. And I know that sounds subjective, but it really was not original in any case whatsoever. There was nothing there that intimidates you at all. So, then you go on to the next scene, and you get a scene where S-Death just freezes over an entire population of just, 100 to, 500 people. Where is she? When did this happen? Where are we? Oh my god. It's like, how much time has been skipped? How did she get to the city? It's just like, the whole episode just throws you around everywhere, and it's just like, why? Then you have the whole goddamn fight scenario where, it's like Lubok versus the one-dimensional villain, and the guy apparently can mark in air. How the fuck did you mark in air? It's not like it's a solid object or anything, but then now people are going to be like, you're getting too realistic. You're nitpicking again. And I'm just going to be like, okay. But you know what? You know what I'm not nitpicking at is the animation when his hand fell off, and it felt like a complete... It felt like when... What's her name? I think her name's Nui or something like that from Kill la Kill. I saw the scene where her arm just, plops off. That's what that legitimately looked like. For the most part, that's really what that looked like. It just fell off. His hand just, bloop, and that's it. There's no way that would happen. And then aside from that, you have this entire thing with this girl that gets her neck slit, right? And then she gets back up 30 seconds later, stabs Lubok, and then falls straight back down with, virtually almost no animation. Number one, how did she survive? Number two, how did she talk? And number three, why was there no blood? It was just if you got your neck slit, I expect there to kind of be blood on your neck or on the ground. There was no blood anywhere in that scene except on Lubok, where he got stabbed. That's it. That's not how blood works. That's not how the human body works. And that's not the only incident in this episode, because there's an incident afterwards where Lubok stabs the one-dimensional villain. That's what I'm going to call him, because I don't remember his name, because he's so goddamn forgettable. He just stabs him, right? Why is there no blood when he stabs him, but then he crushes his heart and then blood comes out of his mouth? As far as I'm concerned, when you pierce skin, there's something inside of your body that comes out, and it's not semen. It's just how the fuck are you missing something like that? It's the best part about this show, apparently, which I don't see, is the fucking shock factor or the gore. And with that being said, there's no gore, or there was gore, but it was just where's the blood? If somebody gets stabbed, there's gotta be blood there. But, hey, maybe I'm nitpicking again. But then, what was funny? Lubok died the exact same way. Shaylee died, Chelsea died, Bowles dies. I, no, Bullet didn't even get this death. They all die with a flashback right before they die about scenes that weren't in the actual show. So it's just like, okay. And then the other way that they die is that they all die, just take this into account. All the characters I listed, Seiryu as, or not as death, what the fuck? Seiryu, Shayla, what the fuck's his name? Bowles, Bulat, Chelsea. Note how they all die. They all die without development. That's how Lubak died. Do you know what we know about Lubak? He likes an agenda. That's it. Why would you care if he dies? Apparently, in the manga, from what I've seen, or from what people have told me, he dies in a completely different manner, and we're supposed to cry over it? Which means that they completely butchered this death, and there's no way to defend it. It's a completely butchered death. But speaking of butchering a death, the way that the father reacts to the death scene is absolutely the worst part, I think, of this episode. It showed you how much of a joke this show is. Now, hear me out. It's not the fact that the dad wasn't crying, or the fact that he, didn't care that his son died. I understand that. The problem is that they cried and made him cry in a comedic fashion when it's a serious moment. When your son dies, or there are two major deaths in the story, I'm not suspecting there to be just like Barney fucking pops up on screen. That's not supposed to happen. That kills the mood. When you kill somebody, you create a mood. You're not supposed to ruin that mood. They completely ruined any significance that death had in that episode. If anything, that death could have not have happened, and it probably would have made the episode better. That's how bad that this face at the end was completely misplaced. The whole face with, the dad, when he was just looking up, was by far the funniest thing, but the worst thing possibly in this entire show. That was the worst placed still frame, or frame period, I have seen in this entire show, maybe of this fucking year. I don't think I've seen anything that out of place. What? What's funny is that I've only gone through the notes that I have on, this computer. Only that I was watching the episode through. I don't have any of the other notes. I'm only going to go through these notes, because everything else needs to be saved for a review. Because this is by far worse than episode 6. I don't think I've seen anything this atrocious since the first two episodes of Terraform Mars, like I said. Jinsei's first episode was not this bad. This was the absolute... Oh my gosh, this was a catastrophe. I've never seen anything this bad before. Not since, there's been stuff worse than this, like Mars of Destruction and stuff like that, but don't get me wrong, but, for a mainstream, 24 episode anime, or anything that gets more than, 6 episodes, I don't think I've seen anything this bad. This was awful, and it's so bad that, even the anime is taking a completely different ending. This was, one of those rumors that was saying, Tokyo Ghoul was so rushed that the second season had to be rewritten. That was a rumor. That's not true, I don't think. But I don't know about that completely thing. I don't know completely about that entire affair. But it's almost like that. It's just they've strayed so far in Akame got killed. They've rushed so far in this anime that they have to rewrite the fucking ending. Oh my gosh. I've been saying it since day one about how this is a bad anime, and nobody believes me. Nobody believed me till that point. There were a couple of people that did. And then episode 20 comes, and then the manga readers are like, oh my gosh, this is shit. This whole anime has been pretty much shit. Everybody's dying without development. Oh my gosh, there's almost no redeeming quality. And I'm just sitting here you finally understand. The Tokyo Ghoul Jesus light has hit you. It's just it's just a godsend. In a way, this episode is a godsend to show people how bad this anime was. And I think that's all I need to go into. You know what? There's so much more I could talk about, but we're already about to hit the 15-minute mark, and I could honestly go on for about 3 hours or do a live stream on this episode just to see how bad things could get. But here's the thing: my thing is that there's no way you can possibly defend this episode. Aside from possibly music, that's it. Even the art didn't look good. And the only place where the art even looked somewhat okay was when they were in that other interdimensional realm of that thing. Whatever. That place looked okay. It did not look spectacular. But everything else, there's like no redeeming quality. I don't remember I don't remember hearing the song. I heard that people are like, the OST was still great as always. I was just like, whatever. I don't remember hearing any song during those fights, but hey, maybe I just missed that. But yeah, there's like no redeeming quality. I mean, like when you have a character who's literally being dragged across a screen for its animation, and then you have one character that's just like simply rotated downwards like it's fucking Sony Vegas. That's what you consider bad animation. This is what you consider a bad show. And I think I'm done. Like I said, there's so much more I could go into. And I'm prepared for all the hate in the comments. But for the most part, I'm pretty positive I've brought up almost all valid points. Was there any good part in this episode? I honestly don't think so. I don't believe, from what I remember, aside from possibly the music, there was not a redeeming quality in this episode. And some people know me as the Akame got kill hater. Go ahead. But you can't deny this episode, even if you don't believe episode 6 was awful, this was abysmal. This was trash. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There are people who have already put out the reviews for it. They've sugarcoated it. I won't shout out names, but this is not a good episode. And this is not a good anime. Am I going to drop it? No. Because I want to review this because I feel as if there's got to be some way to convince people that we don't need more of this. We don't need more of this type of mediocrity in anime. Okay, now I'm done. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys later. Make sure you leave a like and a comment. Deuces.